Welcome back. So, we've talked about what to do when your mind wants to tackle everything all at once. But what if that's not your problem? What if your issue isn't starting, but finishing? You know what I'm talking about. You've got folders just packed with projects that are like 90% of the way there. You sink hours into picking the perfect font instead of just writing the thing. Everyone tells you, oh, you just have high standards, but let's be real. Those standards are starting to feel less like a superpower and more like a cage. Well, today, we are breaking out.
If any of that sounds painfully familiar, you are definitely not alone. But the big question is, why? Why does this keep happening? What's really going on here?
These aren't just little personality quirks, you know. They're symptoms. They're breadcrumbs leading back to a much deeper pattern. So let's play detective and figure out the root cause.
To really get this, we have to rewind the clock way, way back. Because this isn't some modern character flaw you picked up. No, this is an ancient survival mechanism that, frankly, just isn't serving you anymore.
I want you to think about this from an evolutionary point of view. For our ancestors, a mistake wasn't just a typo in an email. A mistake was eating the wrong berry and dying, or tying a bad knot and falling. So your brain developed this incredibly powerful internal quality controller whose only job was to spot errors before they could happen. It was designed to keep you alive. It's a feature, not a bug.
But, and this is a big but, in our world today, that same survival instinct gets us caught in something I call the polishing trap. While the doers of the world are shipping work that's just good enough and getting all this amazing real-world feedback, you're stuck. You're still in the lab, polishing a prototype that has never, ever seen the light of day.
And this trap, it isn't just a feeling in your gut. It's practically a mathematical reality. It all comes down to the simple economics of your own effort, and it's the reason you feel like you're sprinting on a treadmill and getting absolutely nowhere.
So in the world of economics, there's this core idea called the Law of Diminishing Returns. And here's the deal with it. At the beginning of a project, a little bit of effort gets you huge results. But after a certain point, you have to pour in more and more energy just to get tiny, tiny improvements. And believe me, this applies directly to getting your work done.
Just look at this. It's kind of shocking when you see it laid out. Getting your project to 80% quality, that only takes about 20% of your total effort. That's the sweet spot. But that last tiny 5%, that little sliver of perfection, that eats up a whopping 80% of your energy. You're not being meticulous here, you're being wildly inefficient. This, right here, is where great ideas go to die.
The core of the problem is a total mismatch in strategy. Perfectionists are playing life like it's a game of chess. That's a kind environment. The rules are clear, they never change, and one single perfect move can win you the whole game. But the real world, it's not like that at all. It's a wicked environment. The rules are always changing, and what gets rewarded isn't the one perfect move. It's speed, it's putting things out there, and it's learning from feedback.
Okay, so how in the world do we break this cycle? We can't just flip a switch in our brain. We have to actively rewire it. And to do that, we're going to use a really powerful and, yeah, kind of counterintuitive strategy. It's called the B- protocol.
I know. It sounds almost wrong, doesn't it? For a high achiever, this feels like nails on a chalkboard. But this is your new mission. For your next 3 tasks, just 3, your goal is not an A+. Your goal, intentionally, is a B-. You're going to move fast, you're going to make some obvious mistakes, and you are just going to ship it.
What this protocol does is it forces a massive mindset shift, from what I call drama to data. Let's be honest, perfectionism is an emotional shield. We think, if I make this absolutely perfect, no one can criticize me. But by shipping B- work, you change the game. Your goal is no longer about protecting your ego, it's about collecting data. Because the world doesn't reward the person with the flawless plan, it rewards the person who gets in the game and iterates the fastest.
All right, a new mindset is the foundation, but we need some practical tools to actually build this new habit. Perfectionists are always thinking about quality. From this moment on, I want you to start obsessing over something else, velocity. How fast can you move?
Tool number 1 is the hard stop. It's brutally simple, but it is non-negotiable. You set a timer for your task. Could be an hour, could be a day. When the timer goes off, you are done. Pencils down, you ship it exactly as it is. No, one last check. No, let me just tweak this one thing. Done means done. This forces you to execute.
Tool number 2 is the minimum viable output, or MVO. Before you even start a big project, you have to ask yourself one powerful question.
What is the absolute smallest, simplest version of this thing I could make that would still provide some kind of value to someone? You're not trying to build the cathedral on day one. You're just trying to lay the first valuable brick.
So what does this actually look like? Well, if you want to write a book, your MVO is a single blog post on the topic. If you're building a whole new business, your MVO is a simple one-page website explaining the idea. If you want to create a course, your MVO is a one-page PDF checklist. Start small, get it done, and get that precious data.
Now, let's pull it all together and reframe what it even means to be a perfectionist. Because this isn't about throwing your standards out the window. It's about learning how to finally use them as a strength instead of a weakness.
Okay, here comes the hard truth, but I promise, it's an empowering one. Being a perfectionist doesn't automatically mean you're a high achiever. More often than not, it just means you're afraid. Afraid of what people will think, afraid of failure, afraid of not being good enough. And you know what? Realizing that is the first step toward freedom. This right here, this is your new mantra. Burn it into your brain. Done is better than perfect. This isn't an excuse to be sloppy. It's a strategy for actually making an impact in the world. A perfect project that's stuck on your hard drive helps literally no one. But a done project? Well, that can be improved, it can be learned from, and it can be built upon.
And this is the big unlock. This is how you finally harness your gift. That quality controller in your brain, it's not a weight meant to hold you down, it's a filter. You have to stop using it before you create anything. That's what causes the paralysis. Instead, use it after you have a draft. Use it to refine and improve something that already exists. Create first, critique second.
So, let's make this real. Right now, I want you to think about that folder on your computer, the one full of half-finished ideas. That draft that's been sitting in your notebook for months. My question for you is this. What 90% finished project are you going to put a hard stop on and finally ship today?